Here in Washington, Congress is back in session after the August recess, and lawmakers are returning to a packed agenda with a critical deadline looming. The federal government is set to run out of funding on September 30th, and without a new spending agreement, a partial shutdown is imminent. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries addressed the issue yesterday, stating that his party spent the recess holding over 1,000 events across the country to hear directly from constituents. He said the overwhelming message was clear: the cost of living is too high. Jeffries emphasized that America is too expensive, and that the Democratic agenda for the fall will center on lowering costs for families, particularly in healthcare, and protecting existing coverage. He stressed that Democrats are ready and willing to work with their Republican colleagues to find a bipartisan solution to fund the government and avert a shutdown, which would furlough hundreds of thousands of federal workers and disrupt services nationwide. The coming weeks will be a crucial test of whether a divided Congress can find common ground on the budget, or if partisan gridlock will lead to another disruptive government closure at the end of the month. While the immediate focus is on funding the government, some lawmakers are also turning their attention to another pressing issue they say is eroding public trust: the ability of members of Congress to trade individual stocks. A new bipartisan bill, titled the Restore Trust in Congress Act, was introduced yesterday in the House of Representatives. The legislation, sponsored by Republican Chip Roy of Texas and Democrat Seth Magaziner of Rhode Island, would prohibit members of Congress, their spouses, and their dependent children from buying or selling individual stocks, securities, and other similar financial instruments. If passed, the law would also require current members to divest from any such holdings. The move aims to eliminate any potential, or even the appearance of, conflicts of interest, where a lawmaker might financially benefit from non-public information they gain through their official duties. At a press conference, Representative Roy stated that for the first time, a united bipartisan coalition is standing behind a single proposal to address the issue. He argued the act would ensure that members of Congress can no longer put the stock market ahead of their official decisions. The bill represents a significant new push to reform congressional ethics, a topic that has gained public traction amid scrutiny of trades made by lawmakers in recent years. And while Congress debates internal ethics, the Trump administration is taking decisive action abroad, particularly in its escalating pressure campaign against Venezuela. The situation has taken a deadly turn following a U.S. strike on a vessel in the Caribbean, which the administration alleges was a drug smuggling boat operating out of Venezuela. In a statement on his Truth Social platform, President Trump claimed the individuals aboard were members of Tren de Aragua, a violent transnational criminal gang. This is a significant claim, as the U.S. recently designated Tren de Aragua as a foreign terrorist organization. The president went further, directly accusing the group of working for Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro, effectively linking the Maduro regime to narco-terrorism. This strike and the subsequent rhetoric mark a serious intensification of Washington's efforts to isolate and pressure the government in Caracas. This hard power approach is being coupled with a major shift in immigration policy. The Department of Homeland Security announced yesterday that it is terminating Temporary Protected Status, or TPS, for Venezuelan nationals in the United States. This humanitarian designation, first granted in 2021, protected Venezuelans who fled their country's economic and political collapse from deportation. The status was set to expire on September 10th, but the DHS has now moved to officially end it, with the termination taking effect 60 days after a notice is published in the Federal Register. In a statement, a U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services spokesman said the administration believes TPS for Venezuelans acts as a clear magnet for irregular migration, undermining efforts to secure the southern border. The department argues that conditions no longer warrant the special protection. This decision means that thousands of Venezuelans who have been living and working legally in the U.S. will soon lose their protected status and could face deportation if they cannot secure another form of legal residency. The administration's focus isn't limited to the Western Hemisphere. Today, all eyes are on a critical phone call scheduled between President Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. A White House official confirmed the call is set for this afternoon, and it comes at a moment of high tension and high stakes. The call is taking place as a 2-week deadline, reportedly set by President Trump for a bilateral meeting between President Zelenskyy and Russian President Vladimir Putin is drawing to a close. The administration has been pushing for direct talks between the two leaders, but President Trump has expressed growing impatience with the lack of progress. When asked yesterday what message he had for Putin, the president was blunt, saying, "I have no message to President Putin. He knows where I stand." He also hinted that new sanctions against Russia could be forthcoming. This puts President Zelenskyy in an incredibly difficult position. He is reliant on continued U.S. military and financial support in his country's defense against Russian aggression. Yet he is being publicly pressured to meet with the very leader who ordered the invasion. Kyiv has previously dismissed a Russian proposal for a meeting in Moscow as unacceptable. The international community will be watching closely for any readout from today's call, seeking clues about the future of U.S. support for Ukraine and whether Washington's diplomatic strategy is shifting.